6:03 if we're all good.
So 6:03?
And we'll do roll call in-house, and then I think Jen and Katie, are you both online? Katie Benson?
Yeah, we are.
Katie K, Katie Benson.
Oh, Katie K's there too, sorry.
No worries.
That's it.
Okay, and then Deb is also online. Lane, you want to start for in the room?
Yeah, Lane Millington, Superintendent.
Cheryl Hammond, Business Manager. Jamie Dickey, Board Member. Kelly Tarbell, Board Member.
Dave Martin, Board Member.
Beth Merrill, Board Member.
Julie McKenzie, board member.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda, additions, deletions, anything? They're all on here, right?
Yeah.
Are we adding the email? We're going to discuss it in the,
And board comment.
yeah, or in the other thing. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
okay.
My filter,
Either way, one or the other.
my brain isn't all working.
The rural.
The Rural School Community Alliance is what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Approval of the minutes of January 14th, 2026. Notice anything?
No, they look good.
Did you do a motion on the agenda? No. Do we don't actually have to do that, do we? No, but we can.
No, that's fine. Not unless you're actually adding something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Approval of the minutes from January 14th.
I'll move, we approve.
Did we get an actual second? Was that Katie?
We got two.
Okay. All right. I was trying to keep up because I know the minutes are going to be wonky for a few meetings here. All right. Any discussion about the meeting minutes? No. All right. All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes of January 14th, 2026?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. Katie K, just because we can't see you, if you are opposed, we need your voice, please.
So I'll just say no if I disagree and perfect.
Thank you.
But I'm good.
Public comment? None in the room, any online?
No, I don't see any hands.
Perfect. Board member comment?
Guess I would add one comment. I've been seeing a lot of feedback about the budget. But and it's swaying towards the negative. Yeah.
Also, I think it's February, right? Not crazy. So this will be your last meeting.
Yes, correct.
Congratulations to you guys. I'm sorry that you won't be back.
All the fun stuff. Come on.
Right. And to that, I don't think we've had any interest in filling those two positions. So if anybody out there listening would love to join this fun, we would appreciate it greatly.
I actually have somebody from Mount Holly and somebody from Ludlow that that are like on the fence about possibly maybe joining or running.
Good.
Thank you.
So the easiest way to do that is they go as write-ins.
At this point, yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. Because if they go in as write-ins at this point, they will be written in and they will be elected and their term will be a full term. Whereas if they come after that and get appointed, they would have to rerun in March of 27, no matter what. So if you're on the fence, sooner is better.
Well, I also have to run as a write-in because I didn't submit the signature to be put on the ballot in time. My husband was in the hospital and we had a lot going on at home. So that's the path that I'm going to have to take also.
Yeah, that's good to know. So anybody, we'll make sure that we get that out there. Can we put that on the,
I'll give it out.
is it appropriate for us to do it or should PTGs do it? I don't know. Like
Which piece that she's...
that we're saying Katie's running as a write-in. We could just announce it, I suppose. And that we're looking for two more board members.
The two more board members need to be, I'll get that out. I'll get that in the paper and whatnot.
As far as Katie's concerned, I mean, she can announce it here, which I think is good. PTG could do it, but as far as the school's involvement, we have to be uninvolved, to be neutral. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, except to the extent of giving out neutral information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, information is,
Yeah.
if people want to do things, here's what they need to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Superintendent's report.
So I figure it's probably easier, especially as we're in budget season and there's a lot of moving parts up at the State House to kind of put these into the slides to kind of open it up to more of a discussion. A couple of things I think it's important for communities to remember. You know, we're talking about budgets. Tax increases, again, are high across the state, not just Ludlow-Mount Holly. A lot of it's a function of the increase in the fair market value of people's properties. But just to remind folks that in Vermont, you can apply for the Vermont property tax credit. If your household income is under $115,400 this year and your property qualifies as a homestead, right, you can qualify for this tax credit. It can give you up to $5,600 back on your school taxes and $2,400 back on your town, your municipal taxes. Biggest thing is filling out the HS 122 form that you can pull right off the state website under tax.vermont.gov. And so I'm going to be probably emailing that out to let people know as well. Because a lot of folks, especially retirees, people that are on fixed incomes, can get some pretty significant savings on their taxes.
Is there any statistic about how many people actually fill it out, or do we not?
I could probably find out. That's kind of an interesting.
It's pretty hard.
It's required.
Yeah,
It's required when you file your taxes, but if you're in that income bracket that doesn't have to file, which maybe some of the older people in the community,
Right.
they wouldn't necessarily do it. But
Yeah, you have to file the homestead part, but I don't know if it automatically goes to see if you qualify on the household income side. I think.
I think it does.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you have
you fill
to
out both
absolutely-
forms.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Right.
it's one.
It's
Yeah,
As part of your
part A and part B.
return.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
there.
so if you're filling out taxes, you have to do it. It's part of the deal. But if you don't, because some people don't have to, if you did, it could impact if you got something back or not, or right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's $8,000 in savings between the two if you're depending upon what your income is. So it is significant. Just a reminder, Ludlow-Mount Holly annual meeting, Tuesday, February 24th at 6 p.m. right here at Mount Holly School. Coming up quick, right, a week after vacation. Legislative update.
Oh, it's
It's
during
the week of
vacation.
vacation.
That's
wait a
was
minute,
my
you're right,
fear
because your
the other
vacation's
day.
a week off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure to?
What's that?
You see the book? Was in month, I'm sure.
Double check it.
That's
Oh, that's the Green Mountain booklet.
not helpful.
The Ludlow one. I think there's a Ludlow one in there. Oh, that's another piece to tell folks is that the booklets were mailed yesterday. We send the stuff over to the publisher. They actually put the booklets together. And then what they do is they mail them out for us based upon the voter rolls. So folks should be receiving that. There will probably be, as we get closer to the actual vote, I may send out an update. Tax rates can change. And so we want to make sure that people have the most up-to-date tax rates because given where you are, it will be in your favor if they change.
Right, because the legislature, and they still haven't figured out what they're doing, right? I mean,
Yeah. So I'll send out an addendum. Probably I'll try to do it like the very week before. I'll actually mail it out here as well as get it out on the media sources just to keep people in the loop. Same thing with Green Mountain. So legislative update. Had an opportunity over the last couple of weeks to go up, testify on some of the work that the legislature is considering this year. As well as an opportunity to talk to the education committees from both the Senate and the House. They typically meet with the superintendents at the all superintendents meeting that happens this time of year. And a couple of things were actually pretty clear that came out of that meeting. We had talked early on about this idea. Yeah, do they have the fortitude to follow through and see this through. And yes, they do. So they will move forward with Act 73. That's every indication right now. They will impose a map. We'll talk a little bit about what the asterisk means on the next slide. Their main focus is on school districts and doing away with supervisory unions. There was discussion from the superintendents, myself included, about one of the ideas that we talked about here is that the supervisory union piece appeals to people because that's where the local voice would be, right? If your districts are preserved, the smaller districts are preserved under a larger union district, then you still have kind of your local school boards, you've got your local voice, and that's what people were really nervous about giving up. And so the suggestion to the legislature is they are supposed to be getting together a ward committee to develop which areas within each district get a voting member on the board. And basically advise them that, you might want to put some restrictions and provide some further language around what the decisions are that ward committee has to make to try to make sure that, voices are as inclusive as possible.
Are they going to call it ward?
Yeah, I think it's called the ward committee. Yeah.
The second bullet there, they will focus on school districts and not supervisory unions, meaning.
So when a district consolidates into a larger district,
Yeah.
it's a school district with one board and one central office.
Okay. So how I am reading that is not that they will not disturb supervisory unions. They're creating districts and not supervisory unions.
And it will eliminate.
Eliminate supervisory union.
Got it. Okay.
And remember, a lot of this is about hopefully costs and efficiency.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that, especially from the superintendent's perspective and the other administrators, is that, you think of a couple of the folks that are out there that have got multiple districts with different governance systems, different needs. It's just impossible for one central office to minister to multiple districts, especially given the number of districts that could potentially be in one of the larger units after the map changes.
And of course, if they merge us all into districts, then school choice would go away for everybody.
With the exception of the regular kind of lottery system that has always existed.
The public school lottery system.
Yeah, the 9 to 12. Yeah.
Can you speak to what would happen to high schools if there was more than one high school currently in a new district?
I think the feeling is that there's still a push for the regional high school. So
Can you define what? I'm just
one high school per district.
One high school per district. Thank you.
Right, and they kind of
those huge gaps in that map that is on display. Lots of places you can look it up online. Each of those colored areas would have one high school.
Yeah, that's the hybrid map that the Secretary of Education proposed maybe a month and a half.
Yeah.
With the 13 districts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what that was doing is it was pulling from the idea, I believe, of the CTE centers. And consolidate around CTE centers, but also the idea from the redistricting committee that, you should be moving towards regional high schools. And that was kind of the intent of the law when it started. They shied away from saying, we're going to look at closing the elementary schools. The focus was going to be on consolidating high schools.
But in talking about what all this potentially means for our district, the map that I saw from.
I'll show you that one.
Oh, we're going to get there? Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be Springfield, so it'd be 2 high schools, so one would close.
Most likely.
Okay.
So
Eventually,
yeah, and that's a little bit farther down the line in the process. That would probably be, those considerations would be probably about 5 years out.
The buildings that are there now, can they absorb all of that?
A lot of districts can. I mean, I don't know what size Springfield is able to absorb. I taught there, I should know. But that was 30 years ago. I mean, our high school, Green Mountain, has a little under 300 kids in it. It's probably around 290. It can hold 600. And that's true for a lot of the schools across Vermont because of the declining enrollments, as a lot of high schools are, they're at half capacity. So it just depends who you're combining with. I don't know what Sage Spring, the high schools, I know that the technical center is beautiful.
The high school's had a lot of upgrades to it.
Yeah.
I would say this though, in light of your comment just now, our high schools around Vermont, I'm not speaking on any particular one, were built to have a capacity of maybe say 600, but needs and necessity is changed. So when 60 years ago, when all of our high schools appear to be built, 70 years ago when they were all built, not every kid had a Chromebook. We didn't have to plug in 30 Chromebooks at the end of the day. We didn't have to, there are capacities that aren't being looked at.
Interesting.
A footprint might fit X number of kids, but not X number of kids who also need lots of special ed services in different areas and wings of rooms and have different equipment. Not electrical capacity and plumbing capacity and things that have maybe been overlooked because budgets were tight in the last 70 years. So capacity has to be more than just space when people are looking at it. And that's,
I mean, I suspect at Green Mountain, you're using more than half your classrooms.
We're using pretty much,
You have room, you spread out.
yeah, they're spread out, but they're
Right.
using pretty much every classroom.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you had 600 again, you'd have a lot of work to do to,
Yeah, well, what the average class sizes in most high schools in Vermont is around 10, somewhere between 9 and 11. So there is capacity in each one of those classroom spaces. But you are very correct. One of the things that the Superintendent's Association, the Principals Association has been trying to make very clear is that, if you move forward with this, you have got to start putting aside funding so that the receiving schools, if there are consolidations, can do the remediations that are necessary to make it possible. I know the legislature is aware of it. They've talked about it, but it hasn't been at the forefront at this point in time, probably because they're just trying to get through the maps. And that was 2 weeks ago. A lot's probably changed, since we had those discussions.
Is there any wiggle room in the map, to have people as districts work with a different section of the map? Have they mentioned anything about that?
No.
So
They're still, they still haven't decided on a map. They're still,
Right, but they're proposing a couple of ideas.
yeah. I mean,
No discussion on possibility of working around some of it.
the idea,
Can you go back and address the last bullet? You can do it after, but I just want to hear your thoughts on the foundation.
the idea that I expressed to them, I'm going to go forward and then come back.
Fine.
The idea that I expressed to them is for them to kind of create these maps. Like they know how many kids are in each of the towns and things like that. And so they have been sticking to having the school district boundaries match town boundaries. And so the strong recommendation that I gave to them is no, if you're going to make this work, in some cases, the school district boundaries have to cut across towns. You are a perfect example of that. You've got a significant portion that's closer to, to the Mill River, Rutland, and a significant portion that's closer to Ludlow. And you're big enough that if you had somebody at that end of Mount Holly having to go, it's a burden. So
We're the gray.
Yeah.
okay, so let's do this and we'll go back. So one of the pieces to, I think it's important, if I can explain this well enough, is this idea about foundation funding. When they set up that foundation idea in Act 73, basically what they're saying is, we're going to give everybody this much money per kid, and that's it. If you want more than that, it comes from your local taxpayers. That amount depends upon the economy of scale that you have, right? If you've got bigger districts, it should cost less for each kid to be able to educate them. So that foundation number would be smaller. If you have more districts, the economy of scale, the benefit of that isn't as great. And so it would cost more, right, to have smaller districts because the economy of scale efficiency isn't there. So that number would need to be higher to be able to serve the kids' needs. The problem with some of the maps right now, and the one that we're going to look at, is that it cuts in half basically what the foundation formula was built around. The foundation formula is built around this idea that we've got districts of 4,000 to 8,000 kids. That's where the number comes from that they would give per kid. The Peter Conlon map, the one that folks are talking about the most right now, looks at a district size of 2,000 to 4,000 students in each district, right? Because it kind of shrinks the geography a bit. It takes those concerns out about travel times for folks. The other thing that it does is that, right, you know, we talked about where we are, that's Springfield, and that's our current district here. It keeps current districts together and puts them together with other districts. Instead of like poor Woodstock in one map, it was cutting them into like 4 pieces. So the problem is going to be is that the foundation formula does not self-adjust. So in other words, if they run with this map, but they stick with the current foundation formula, we're not going to have enough to be able to educate our kids. The problem's going to be convincing the governor to potentially work with the legislature to change that foundation amount, because they purposely chose the foundation formula that they have to force efficiency. They wanted to force districts to have to be 4,000 to 8,000 people. So the odds of them backing off on that, I think, are pretty slim.
So I think the main efficiency that they want to force is having much larger classrooms.
That's a good piece of it. That forces consolidation, right? If you can't meet those enrollment numbers and you do everything you can, then you don't have a choice. You're going to have to combine with another school. So the ulterior motive there, whether they want to admit it or not, was to force schools to consolidate the small schools. And so when you do that, right, you had 2 teachers for third grade. Now that third grade's combined at one school, you need 1. And so that's where we talked about the fact that based upon their enrollment figures, the number of teachers that we have and what the law says is the calculation that I did, it came out to about the loss of about 1,400 teachers out of the 8,000 in the state. So there's, you know, that's what savings is that they're after.
Looking at the map, I'm sorry, like I don't know what town boundaries are like. So if we're that little weird off gray,
Yeah.
what's next to that?
So Ludlow,
The other way, pink.
Would be like,
Is that Rutland?
yeah, this is what would be called like the Rutland-Otter Valley District.
So
Yeah.
No,
No.
no, what you got about
Rutland is the light blue.
Yeah.
the white.
Rutland Otter Valley is light
To
blue.
the left of Mount Holly
Is that Mill River?
Point. Mount Holly is the gray one, and then to the left of that is Wallingford.
Right. So
Then
that's
to the
Mill
left
River?
of that is Tinmouth.
Yes.
And then you're into Wells and then into New York.
And going south, it's a Manchester district rather than a Rutland
Bright,
district.
so the bright pink is Manchester?
So Mill River and
Don't.
Tank.
Oh, Mill River and Manchester would be the same.
Yeah.
Right.
It's easier with the names on it.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, so they're putting Mill River with Manchester instead of with Rutland.
What's the blue above us? Is that
Woodstock.
Woodstock?
Yeah. And then Windsor's to the right.
Yeah. I look at that one up in the Northeast Kingdom, the mauve one.
Yeah.
Imagine, but that is a huge geographic area. Imagine,
It's already bigger than that.
really?
Yeah, that was that's an interesting district. That was John Castle's district, who was a wonderful superintendent. I think he was at Otter Valley for a little while. He kept it as separate districts, so I don't remember how many, but it's probably like 14 separate districts up there.
Yeah, but is that how many supervisory unions or what is that?
It was a supervisory union, but I think it had 14 districts in it, or currently.
That's
That- I
That's
mean,
Northeast
Going
Kingdom,
from
yeah.
one end to the other, that's a huge, that's like driving halfway across the state at the widest
how
part.
would they do a regional high school there? That's what
Yeah.
Is it-
Newport.
yeah, Newport is right.
Yeah.
So you're,
But then
you're
you've got
talking
like
about
these
from
2 other colors that are like in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the people up there are going crazy over the map.
Right, and you're gonna be at that rate, those dark gray towns are gonna be driving through a yellow district to get to their school.
Yeah, or like,
Yeah, I mean,
imagine being these two towns where you're in the middle, like literally in the middle of
Right.
this.
I think some of that, having been up, I grew up kind of in the Colchester area, so I'm a little bit familiar. I think some of that is due to the geography, the mountains and the valleys,
Oh,
would be my guess based upon where those are placed.
I think some of it's probably due to existing districts and supervisory unions.
Yes. Again, they try not to break up districts. So when they built this map, they took existing districts and stuck them together. They weren't breaking anybody apart. That was
what's the two light gray ones that are broken up by the dark gray?
Yeah.
Closer to us.
no idea.
Interstate.
White River Valley that go into
Oh,
New
the
Hampshire.
right, yeah.
We have students that go
In
to New
Norwich?
Hampshire.
Norwich goes into Hanover.
is that
Yeah.
Rivendell and Fairleigh? Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be why they did that one that way.
Okay.
If you want to play with this stuff, if you just type in Vermont AOE district mapping tool, it'll come up and you can create your own districts, or it'll tell you what all the towns are. That's what I have to do when they send out maps like this, because they're not very well labeled. If I'm trying to figure out what town is what, I go there and you highlight it. It'll tell you how many kids are in that town and that sort of stuff.
Can you say that website again for?
So if you just type in Vermont AOE, Vermont Agency of Education, district mapping tool, it'll come right up. Do the percentages there.
Or school district builder is like the name of the tool.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that like this is not final.
No.
And the people that proposed this admitted it was faulty. Like this is not what we should bank on.
So I have an issue with, and I know it's not just me, but as a parent, and I've said this before, like Vermont's small. You either like work on one side of the state or the other side. So what works for one family may not work for another. It does not work for me to bring my child to Springfield for school. If I work in Rutland, my partner works in Rutland, their father works in Rutland, their doctors are in Rutland, like everything is in Rutland. So how, quite frankly, hey, somebody is sick, come get them. I'll be there in an hour and a half. Like, I feel like we've lost what what are good for families.
I think you're going to see a lot of people move in the next 3 years when this actually happens.
I just want to say that I think sometimes we do get stuck on the map and the boundaries because that's a business model, is to have a foundation that shows boundaries versus an educational model. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard you say that efficiency is defined as fewer staff, less money, and bigger districts. Whereas an education model should be based on need for a child and a family. And I think that's why people don't want to vote your school budgets in and have a big panic attack about this, but yet they want it cheaper because they want to pay for their own. They don't want to pay for the many. So I just want to say that I think it's because nobody really is defining efficiency right at the ed department.
And I feel like they're moving so fast. They're not really thinking through anything and getting to like the root of the problem. My issue is, and I get, giving money to less fortunate, and that's what basically has, like, for Ludlow, there's no reason we shouldn't have like a great school with the money we pay in taxes. We shouldn't be scrounging and crying that our taxes are going up because we don't have money to put a roof on.
Well, it's because you're not paying just for yourself.
That's
Right, and that's not fair. So now we're going to pay more, even though we already pay an astronomical amount to get basic need. Like, how's that fair?
I think there's two things. One, we're going to pay, I don't mind paying for everybody if everybody has the same, and I don't mean this to sound weird, but like morals and values, right? If I go to the doctor only when I'm truly sick, that's one thing. But if somebody else goes every time they have a hangnail and I'm paying for that, then that's different, right? So we want everybody to have their basic needs met, but in a sort of fair and comparable way. And the other thing, and I'll just throw it out there, I'm sure we can move on at some point, but if we're going to close schools, what's going to happen to those buildings? We're going to be paying for buildings because we have to keep them in somewhat
Fiduciary responsibility
There we
to
go.
maintain your assets.
and yet that is going to be money that's just sitting, not educating kids, just keeping an empty building from falling down. And that's not efficient. That is spending money needlessly. If we're going to, I don't know. I just don't see how I don't see how this is going to work. I see that there is a need for a new system. I just don't see that this system is the system that's going to work. And I don't disagree with, I think Julie or Katie just said it. People are going to move, and then we're going to have an even bigger problem.
The two, like I said, the two solutions are the fundamental driver behind why we're experiencing what we're experiencing is how education is funded. If the humane side says that that's the way that it's supposed to happen, then the only alternative is to increase business and increase housing within the state to attract people so that you've got a bigger tax base so that everybody is paying less. So my conjecture for the last 5 years is that with those areas that are given up, schools that are given up, and the land that they sit on, is the state passes a law that they can only be purchased by contractors who agree to build housing. Then you've got the money that you can use to renovate the schools, and you're also building the infrastructure that the state has been missing for centuries. That might actually help the problem. But they've also, like I said, they've got to start taking down the blockade that they have up in terms of their regulations that keep people from coming here with their businesses.
Well, and I mean, there seems to be, I perceive there to be a sort of fatalistic attitude about the declining population in this state. I don't think that anybody is seriously tackling the root cause of like actually all of the problems in Vermont: a failing healthcare system, education, affordability, housing, because nobody has plans to increase the size of the population and sort of stimulate the economy in the state. So, I mean, even today, I read a quote from the governor commenting on the two school closures that failed. And he said, well, the population is going to continue to decline and we just have to get used to that idea. But to me,
Your job is this.
a lack of leadership, because that if we had the population of our neighbor state, New Hampshire, twice the size, we wouldn't have any, apparently the per capita spending on healthcare in New Hampshire, our neighbor, is the lowest in the nation, 4%, and we are the highest. So like, to me, this is probably 80 to 90% driven by the fact that there is no commercial tax base and there is a declining population of working age people.
And it's, and you've hit the nail right on the head. These solutions take long-term vision. That doesn't exist in leadership anymore. It doesn't exist. I don't know if it's an outcome of social media, but
When you have a 2-year gubernatorial cycle, when you have a 2-year term, you can't do long-term planning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because there is a solution here that could weave very well in with what they're planning, if they put the pieces together, but they're not. What they're going to do, this isn't going to solve the problem. It will slow down the increases in taxes, but you're 5 years, you're going to be sitting here after all these changes in the same place we are now. It's not fixing
the worst place.
Yeah.
Yes, fewer kids in the system. Yeah.
It's not fixing the problem. It's delaying. And that's what Act 60 did. It delayed it for 30 years and nobody did anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in agreement with you. And that vision piece it's funny to talk with the legislators because they're really good people. But when you bring up things like that aren't like an immediate gain because that's what the voters are going to vote for, you can see their eyes glaze over and you can tell when they're listening and when they're not. So, and I give them credit because they probably hear a lot of crazy stuff.
I can say two more things about the map. One is that clearly Springfield has more people than the rest of the district combined. And so the decision about whether to close Ludlow-Mount Holly schools would basically be made in Springfield by Springfield people.
Well, this is why we want to talk about your restructuring committee and having a voice.
Right.
Yeah.
But then the second comment on this map is that I think a lot of people in Mount Holly, if they saw this map, would say, no, we don't want to be part of the Springfield. We want to be part of Mill River and Manchester.
I don't know, that's where I want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, whether Ludlow is closer to a midpoint, I mean, I don't know which way people in Ludlow would want to go.
Well, that's
Mount Holly is pretty
How
clear.
about this? How about you just build a big school in Ludlow?
Right in the middle.
And they all have to come to us. Just kidding.
I'm not. That's the center. That is the center of this potential district. That's where the regional school should be, a nice brand new regional school. We've talked about this. That's going to attract people to actually come and live in Ludlow as opposed to all the out-of-staters and you're just here with the second homes for skiing. Springfield has a beautiful technical center that should remain, and they should be the hub for the tech, and we should be the hub for the academics. But in terms of the sizes, our district is 940 kids, somewhere between 940 and 1,000. Theirs is somewhere around 1,200. You put the two of them together, it's 2,200, 2,100 kids.
Yeah.
It's not
At the 4,000.
yeah, it's still, well, they're shooting for, this map is shooting for 2 to 4. But you're right, the larger map, the one the foundation formula, is expecting is, 13, 14 districts. That is way too small. Yeah. So good.
Before you move on, that meeting is in Ludlow. The annual meeting is in Ludlow.
Is it in the, right?
It's the warning.
Okay, I'll make sure.
That's because we're supposed to be in Ludlow.
Yeah.
Right, but he added that. No, Holly, I just want to make sure everything else in Ludlow.
I'm sorry?
You know that, right?
Right.
Yes.
So I'll make sure. And what I'll do is I'll send the big reminder out prior to, like I said. Sorry about that. You're in charge. What are we doing next?
Well, I don't know because I went back, the last one I could find quickly without being totally distracted was in 22 and we were in Mount Holly, which I then counted forward. We should be in Mount Holly this year, but I know last year, I think, or the year before, we messed up and we were in Ludlow twice, I think. So somehow we're off. So I think
We go with what the warning says.
we have to go with what the warning says, but we need to make sure we're on it.
For last year, said Mount Holly. That's when we switched it to Ludlow.
To Ludlow. Okay, so then we were off, but as long as it's warned and hopefully we're in a different place than we were last year, we can't go back and fix the year we messed up. So
Yeah.
as long as we're in a separate school this year.
I think what I did is I pulled last year's book.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
And I think
I'll get it straightened out.
messed up. And I think we had a screen here so people could come here.
Yeah.
The year that we did that.
Yeah.
Last year we were definitely in Mount Holly.
Okay.
I don't even remember last year. Were we in this room?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
it
that's
this
the
one?
only one I know.
Yeah.
We might have been in the gym.
I'm really not excited anymore.
I don't know. I just feel like I go to meetings every night and I don't know where they are.
I will make sure we over communicate the closer we get.
Yeah.
Especially if the tax rates change and they're going down. So kind of the follow on kind of with the discussion here is, right, they're moving forward with this. They don't know what the map is. This is the one that's currently being the most talked about. Katie is correct that, when Peter put it out, the idea is that hopefully it's going to start a different sort of conversation. And so we don't know where they're at. A lot of the sentiment, at least in talking with the legislature at the time, was just make a decision on the maps, and whatever decision you make darn sure that you provide the support so that we can make those districts work when you decide on it. So regardless of what happens, the students in the buildings are still going to be here. And so, the Ludlow-Mount Holly School Board is working on trying to get the restructuring committee together, which is important. I'm working on Green Mountain to try to get them to do the same thing, because given where we're headed, even though the maps aren't clear, we should be able to have some sort of a vision about what we want to come out of this. We should have some sorts of communication that we want to be able to deliver to the new school board that will eventually take over, so that, the things that are important in terms of the districts kind of are maintained. So, my recommendation to this board or to the restructuring committee when it comes up is maybe start out a little bit with the questions and planning side of things is, right, do we want to start talking about a more inclusive district model here and now within the TRSU, given the fact that, we've got enrollment requirements that are supposed to be starting to go into place next year, so that we're breaking down the wall so that if there's efficiencies that can be gained by Mount Holly, Ludlow, and Cavendish talking to each other, that might not be a bad idea. It doesn't mean we have to do anything. We're breaking down the wall so in case folks decide that, maybe the best thing to do is to, we keep all three schools open. We got different grade bands at each school that meet the enrollment requirements. And so those are one of the things that I would suggest talking about. Are there things that we can do now to start building efficiencies that are going to be what I call durable? In other words, that whatever the map comes out to be, they'll live through that process. They don't have to be undone. Are there ways that we can share facilities or reconfigure grades to improve sustainability? And then the biggest worry that I have is, as we're entering this time of great change, is how do we retain staff? Because, I think about it, and I'm sure that a lot of the staff around the state do, is if this district isn't here tomorrow, at what point in time do we start thinking about our own futures? And what happens is when things are unclear for too long, people start jumping ship. Right? When things are clear, even though it may not be what people want, they're more likely to stick around because there's some calmness around knowing what's coming. And then the stability for the students has got to be the top priority. How do we do that with the transitions that are coming?
I'd like to make a comment on last side. Similar to how do we retain high quality educators, one thing that to me is like shockingly absent from the discussion about redistricting is just the excellence and quality of education. Like, you don't hear, the only thing you hear about is money. You don't hear at all about how do we address excellence, quality. And it's not clear to me that the plans around district size necessarily equal high quality. So that's like, as a parent, someone with kids actually in the system right now, that's incredibly disappointing, because that is the point, right? Like, to me, the excellence of our system is the point.
So they're having minor discussions on the excellence side, and the way that they are having them is through state control. These are the graduation requirements that everyone will have. These are the graduation proficiencies. This is the state calendar. This is the curriculum. And so those discussionings are happening now. One of the things that I'm wrestling with is I'm trying to pull myself, because it's hard in a supervisory union, because there's so many little things that need to be done all the time, but to try to pull myself back into kind of a vision role. On the curriculum side, if I go into a high school teacher in Vermont or an elementary teacher and I say, how do you know what you're supposed to teach today? There's not a good answer for that. They're teaching good stuff. They're following the programs that they've been provided. But if we have a state test that we're being rated on, then obviously there's a knowledge that the kids are specifically supposed to be taught every day. So state, where is the dang curriculum that we're supposed to be teaching that outlines the content? It doesn't exist here. And if the state actually wants to see us step up, if that's a concern, one of the things that they need to do is, as a state, they need to start communicating those things. Everything is so wishy-washy in this state. We want you to have graduation proficiencies, but you know what? You 119 districts, each of you figure out your own. That's the state of Vermont. And the system in the state of Vermont, if they are concerned about student performance, and you have some high-performing schools in this district, if they're concerned about that, they have to, go back to the Peter saying, hey, every system is designed to create what it creates. If the scores across the state are low, it's because of how the legislature has set things up and the regulations and the rules that we have to follow in what we do. So stop messing with us, get rid of the regulations, or put in ones that you know are going to work. Anyway, not my high hours. I'm wrestling with a curriculum piece right now.
Right, and this curriculum is one of the biggest challenges, because some of the districts have it laid out, and you can turn around and move 10 feet down the road, and those kids will go and get a whole different program, and they may be taught in third planets, but in the other district, it's not in third, it's in fourth. Do you know what I mean? So that's the issue.
That's by design in Vermont. That's not a flaw. That's how they designed it. And that's a part of the problem and why they get the results that they get.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of reasons for it, but that coming from Massachusetts, where here's your frameworks, you can teach this content any way that you want, but this is the content you teach. And if you have extra time, you can teach whatever else you think is important on top of it. But this is the content you will teach.
Right.
And of course, as Kelly was telling us a couple of months ago, AOE doesn't have the current ability to do the minimal tasks that they're assigned with now, much less to take on curriculum development and all the other things that would in fact help the districts.
So sometimes to get where you want to go, even though where you want to go is cutting spending, sometimes to get there you have to spend more up front. And that's a piece that I don't think that is well understood. You want to get to this map, or a map that's similar to this, you can get there and it can be successful, but you're going to have to put some money in up front. You're going to have to redesign those schools. You're going to have to fix the schools. You're going to have to fix the transportation system in the state. You're going to have to provide funding so that we've got a proper curriculum. We have a model for special education delivery that's statewide. I mean, it just, and that costs money, but the nice part about it is, it's expensive, but the nice part is it's one time upfront money. Spend it. You've got the things in place, and then you can move forward and you don't have to keep spending it year after year.
And of course, the other cost will be topping up teacher salaries. I mean, you're not going to have districts with one town paying, higher salaries, another town paying lower salaries, all in the same district. That's not bad. That's not going to fly.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because they have to consolidate all the different contracts. I mean, that's still a little bit of a misery here. I mean, that was really the basis for, why the contract negotiations took so long, was still wrapping up the two separate contracts between the districts and trying to work things out. So as part of it, and again, these are a recommendation, the restructuring committee here, has got to make up its decision on how it's moving forward. But I think there's two opportunities that don't want to be missed. Is at some point in time, as this rolls forward, there will be their transition board, and then there will be one school board over the entire district, of which we will at some point in time become. We want to make sure that we send a strong communication, that we develop that and we send it to them so that they know, we're now a part of the district, this larger district, but there's some things about us that we are going to refuse to lose, and you need to listen to what they are. And this is kind of what we expect on behalf of our students. There's certain programs, there's certain ways that, our kids are educated that we don't want to lose either. In addition to that, there's an opportunity here where if you have a new structure, and if there really is a greater efficiency through this economy of scale, this is an opportunity to communicate to that new district, given now that we can actually have some additional things that we don't have, this is what we want that we've always been missing. And so I think that those are two powerful communications and statements that these groups could work on that may have an impact. But just some ideas about that vision forming piece. Related to all of this, we spoke, I think it was probably about a month, maybe a month and a half ago, that there are definitions out there in the law that they hadn't come up with, like, when they're saying that, enrollment in at the high school level is 18 per class. Is that an absolute or is that an average of the classes? They didn't have definitions for a lot of the terms that were needed, so they have defined some of them. It came out a couple of days ago. John actually picked up on it because I was surprised it wasn't emailed directly to the superintendent. Usually it is. But enrollments are based on average class sizes within a school. If you got multi-grade classes, right? If you got a 5th grade class and a 6th grade class together, because the enrollment requirements are different for 6th grade and 5th grade, if it's combined, then you only need to worry about the lower grade value. So that's kind of important. It's not going to really help a Cavendish or potentially the 2 elementaries over here, because you don't have multiple, right? You don't have like 3 grade 3s, right? So if you only got 1 grade, then you're not averaging. The things that are exempt from the minimal class size requirements, right? They're pre-K, kindergarten, career and technical center courses, terminal courses, which apply kind of more to the high school, and then any kind of courses that require specialized equipment. Probably because they figured if you spent a lot of money on the equipment to run the course, then we should probably let you continue to run it. Usually those are technical courses, right? If you got a STEM program, you got your laser cutters and your laser printers and scanners and that sort of thing, then you can continue to run those. Terminal courses, this really applies to the high school. Like AP classes are exempt from minimum class sizes. And then the last class in a series that goes beyond the graduation requirement. So if we have our graduation requirements require Algebra 2 as the level the kids have to get to meet graduation. If we offer pre-calculus and beyond that, then pre-calculus is a terminal course, and we can run that with smaller numbers of kids.
Any mentioning our programs, say like your autism program, or is there any minimal size?
Those are outside of this. From
So they're not stating any minimals.
Yeah. I mean, which is a good question to have. So we did get some clarification on those parts and pieces. Right, not moving forward. The big thing, and we kind of talked about this, is they're when are they going to start actually looking at the data? Supposedly in the spring of 2027. So the end of next year is the first time they're going to look at data to see if you're meeting the enrollment requirements. Right, because the expectation is that districts are starting to try to meet those enrollment requirements next school year. And it'll probably be the spring collection. We do a DC4, they call it data send to the state. It'll probably be compiled with that.
What's the non-compliance?
They can take over your district and they can shut down your school.
Let them take it over and see what happens. Sorry.
What compliance on what? Compliance that
You're meeting the minimum enrollment requirements in your classes in your district.
So that would mean making moves this year, because that's 2027.
So that's the first year that they are going to be collecting the data. They say you have 3 years. You have had 2 years. You can be out of compliance for a year or two, and they're not gonna ding you. But you hit that 3rd year in a row, and the tone changes.
I really feel like they're trying to bully and be like, this is like real scare tactic. Like, make everybody do what they want them to do, and they're not
taking responsibility for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've said this before. I know you say you can't do it, but I don't see why not. Don't release your money to them and make them fix it before you came to their crap.
What was the compound in Texas where they hold up because they didn't pay their taxes? The FBI and showed up. And,
Yeah.
Waco, I think was a little, but there was another one similar to it, and it was about the rancher that was refusing to pay his taxes.
I'm not talking about individual. I'm talking about the town.
Well, I'm implying that the results would probably be the same in the end.
They'll get their money.
They'll
Yeah.
get their money one way or the other. They'll garnish your wages. That's.
See, that's bullshit.
It is. I mean, in the packet, there's a cell phone policy that's mandatory that is supposed to go into effect on July 1st. What you're seeing in that packet is the AOE model policy. So that's the minimum requirement. The reason I'm showing it to you is that at the next board meeting, if you look it over, if you think it should be more strict, that's the time to have the conversation. And then April and May would be the first and second read because we got to implement it in July. Kind of impacts the high school a little bit more, but it impacts your higher level grades here because the younger and younger kids are getting the cell phones at this point.
Well, and if you're currently 8 miles to school every day, their parents are going to have them even younger and younger.
So currently, there is not anything to play in this school.
There is at the high school.
There is.
There is at the high school.
So they're not allowed their phones during instructional time.
During instructional time. This is the minimum requirement on here is it's a start of school to end of school ban. So they can bring them to school, but they can't have them. If they bring them to school, they got to go into storage.
Like many of the board policies, I mean, what it tells you is that you guys have to make a more detailed policy.
Us, it's protocols and procedures.
Administrators have to develop a strategy that conforms with the board policy. And like most of them, I mean, your policy will be more detailed and more specific, but it has to be consistent.
Yeah. But the big piece is if you want it to be more restrictive, you communicate that to us. We turn it into a protocol, how we carry it out operationally and communicate that. So one of the things that I've been working on, one of the reasons that you're getting all those mandated policies and doing the updates is because a lot of those mandated policies require the superintendent in the district to develop an operational protocol around them. And so that's going to be the next task that's probably going to take 2 or 3 years is because there are some that exist in the district when I came in, a lot of that is missing. Or at least if it did exist, we can't find it. And so that's kind of a next stage starting this summer. Get you guys to approve all those policies, and then I got to go through and start working with the teams to get the operational protocols in place. So
There,
what's that?
they did exist.
There's some, but there were a lot that are missing that we can't find. And so we want to make sure. So one of the roles of the superintendent is making sure that we are in compliance with the regs, and that's a part of the compliance work. So the piece to talk a little bit about is I think people know that Julie and Todd, they purchased a house in Georgia a few months back. Julie is down there working. Todd has been waiting.
Taxpayer.
Todd has been waiting. Kind of when we talked about getting his house on the market when the house sells. So he has put in his resignation as of June 30th. And so that opens up discussions with the boards about what do we want to do. There's actually a third possibility. I worry about replacing the position. Not saying that we shouldn't, but just because I don't know what's going to happen under Act 73. My piece is that if we do replace it, I would like to combine it so that we've got a TRSU facilities manager who is also the transportation director for the entire district. Sue does an incredible job, but it is of incredible benefit to have somebody who is in district all day, each day, so that if a kid's left on a bus and whatnot, there's a response that can happen. Mm-hmm. The other possibility is a part of Todd's role was athletic director. I know that Springfield is looking for an athletic director, or will be shortly. So I've reached out to Peter over there. We're going to have a meeting on the 19th. We're going to go to lunch and we're going to talk about positions just like this one. And is there a way to share? I don't know if this one would fit. The athletic director may or may not, but I'll come back with some ideas of what may be possible that I can share with the board at that time. But I don't know. I think this is worthy of a discussion of what this board thinks it would like to see or do.
Do we have the benefit of an athletic director? We don't have sports. So, I mean, to us, not that here is
Well, that's
a problem, but
that's a whole other piece. There's no reason we couldn't if you want to pay for it.
but we don't have,
Yeah,
I mean,
the school
numbers.
sports.
yeah, we don't have school sports, so we do it with the towns. And our fourth grade team don't even have enough girls for the fourth grade team. You got a second grader, a fifth grader, and all four are playing.
Athletic directors in Vermont are typically middle high school.
Yeah.
And it's typically, if you've got a robust sports program, which most schools do, it's a heck of a job, especially in the winter months with cancellations. And yeah, it's not an easy job.
My memory is that Todd isn't actually LMH, don't we pay him a stipend or something to take on some of the LMH duty, facility?
We did that one year when not facility, he's already TRSU facility, so.
Oh, so he is technically over LMH as well?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why you talk with them about the roof and things like that.
Okay.
But not for transportation.
Oh, that's what the stipend was for?
Yeah, because he helped us out with the bus.
With the bus, that's right. Okay.
I personally think it's important to have somebody in that facilities manager role and the transportation role. My fear is that when we start combining and we put it out and, to get potential candidates, people will not apply for it because they can do part of it and not both. So I don't know if there's a way to word it so that we can try to get a person to do both, or say a facilities manager is available and a transportation director is available. For the right candidate, this could be a full-time job, or that would be my hope. I know TRSU was a little bit possibly we don't need that position at all. And while I understand their concerns, I personally think that position is really important and it needs to happen.
I see. And I'm not. I agree on that too.
Yeah,
the PFAS, we'd be nowhere without Todd taking care of that. The contracting out for the roof. I mean, you need people. It's not a head custodian level of responsibility.
Yeah. Did they finally admit that the PFAS stuff was a failure? I swear I heard something.
I didn't hear what you said.
I'm afraid.
No.
I swear I heard somewhere that they were oh yeah, we realized that we can't demand something that we can't help them achieve.
No.
I think that has more to do with the remediation of it.
Yeah, that's what
There's just no specific source that they can find.
want you to sue.
Let's be able to remediate. Or blame on it.
The force to remediate.
I'm concerned that I think this whole thing, the maps, that hinges on busing. So I do and Ludlow-Mount Holly has struggled fairly substantially with transportation needs. I actually think that's an important position in addition to all of the deferred maintenance that we have across the two buildings. I guess I'm a little concerned that we wouldn't find a candidate, maybe not so much because of like expertise, but because people wouldn't want to do a position that is likely to be eliminated once the consolidation happens. So my question is, and I don't want to get into a discussion about personnel, but is there potentially an internal who could be over the next 6 months, like trained as a successor for that position? Just,
So the question has been asked, and I'm not going to go into any more detail.
yeah.
But I do want to touch on the point. The reason I threw the map back up there is one of the ideas about combining, potentially with Springfield for some of these things is because that is going to give the person the potential to survive the redistricting, right? There is a human side of me, though I don't show it too much. I am deeply concerned about bringing on people like our new tech director who is here, knowing that redistricting might destroy the position. So if I can build them in a way that they might survive and be durable through that transition, that's some of the thought process in the back. And you touched on that a little bit and triggered the thought. But
I feel like that it's a position that it should be combined with the transportation, but I'm not sure when you were talking about athletics. To me, the athletic side, and this may be the elementary versus high school part of me, there's more capability of an internal staff person to do the athletic piece.
It's a whole different skill set.
Yes, a skill set that many of your high school individuals have. So to me, the bigger bang for your buck will be the transportation and facilities person.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, that's the purpose of this, is just to hear. I'm not wedded to anything in particular. I'm just trying to sort out where people are focused and concerned. That's it, unless you have other questions. Sorry.
I heard some dings. I don't know if those were hands, if it's Katie or, well, I can see Katie, so if it's the other Katie.
See, can we shut this?
Oh, it might have been. Maybe it was. All right.
In the chat.
If that's
They were just saying, make sure I'm letting people.
okay, then I would say we're ready to move on to principals reports.
Deb and Craig, Deb, you want to go first? Oh, let me make sure you've got access to share.
So there's two things that we do.
That's in the dark. Electricity's off.
You should be all set, Deb.
Like she skied all day. She's tired. Look at the puppy.
I thought for a
Vegas
second.
and puppies. It's a great night.
So I'm not able to share my screen for whatever reason, but I did submit my report. It should be linked in the board packet materials. This report highlights some of our most recent assessments, our MAP assessments, and we continue to show growth, maybe at a slower rate than we did in the past, but there's some highlights under student achievement, compared to 2025. The results were overall positive. The mathematics percentage of students performing in a proficient or proficient with distinction range increased from 49% to 55%. Our reading went from 45% proficient to 49% proficient. And then our median student growth has increased as well from 2025 to 2026, the winter assessment. So it's in multiple formats in my report. Then we recently sent out a new report card in November, and we asked parents and families for some feedback, and the feedback is highlighted. there, and that came directly from the survey. And, there were some mixed results. Some of the parents who gave comments want to know why we can't go back to an A, B, C, D, E, F or A, B, C, D, F report card or a 1 to 4 scale. Some families wanted to see more narrative feedback. There was additional feedback wanted on science and social studies. Other suggestions included holding conferences following report cards, so different from student-led conferences, but a conference around report card. Some people preferred the electronic, some people preferred the paper, and it was in 2 different places. When we asked that question specifically, 76% of the families preferred the paper copy of the report card, yet when it came to actual writing comments and feedback, parents in that section who answered that wanted the electronic version. So I guess it's a no-win situation. Maybe we do both.
Electronic one, because you can save it and send it.
Yeah.
Just take a screenshot,
Send it to grandma.
send it to grandma.
Different learners. Yeah.
But there's
And then,
families that don't have computers.
Right.
At Ludlow, I continue to reinforce our Learn, Grow, Succeed motto. We celebrate our learning in assemblies. We celebrate growth. This go round of MAPS assessment, our 6th grade was 100% proficient or proficient with distinction in reading and came very close to that in math. All of our kindergartners were proficient in mathematics. Our 1st graders had the highest median growth in reading, and our 3rd graders had the highest median growth in mathematics. So each of those classes will have a classroom celebration to celebrate their learning and their growth. And that's all I have. Are there any questions about what I have in my report?
Good going.
Yeah. Deb, can I just ask a question? Sorry, was somebody talking?
No, I just said,
Oh.
great. Yeah.
Sorry. When you say that we had the highest median in both areas, what highest compared to the state, compared to the district, compared to the SU?
Compared to from our 1 year to the next year.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add a comment to Deb. Recently, an individual was here who went to Ludlow Elementary years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They played basketball at the adult league on a Saturday. And school was open. So the individual is now a teacher in Boston area. And as they walked down the hall, they looked around and they said, in Boston, we have to have 25 or 30 students in our room, and it's very sterile, cold, and not homey at all. And he said, and they give you kids and you can't say no. They just put them bumper to bumper in your room. And he said, the difference is as you go down the hall at Ludlow and in Vermont, mostly, you see colors and you see comfortable reading nooks and you see more of an educational being within that school. And he said, and it would be a place that you would want your kids to be. I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, I feel like I agree with that absolutely, but I mean, McDonald's has lost their spark. It used to be the happiest place on earth. There's no color anymore, right? Like, no
Sparkle in my classroom.
there's no.
Well,
Everything is
governor
so-
wants us to be more like Massachusetts.
Right.
Right. He can't have lights in his room. He can't have rugs. It's sterile because you gotta.
It's clinical.
Yes.
Yes, there is and having come from there, It is true. It's a very clinical environment. There are many good things that they do. They're very clear on what the learning is supposed to be. They're very good at delivering it. They're very good in terms of kind of the behavior management side, where they still have consequences that are reasonable when students misbehave, as opposed to restorative practices only. And so the behavior is significantly better. But there's also problems that come with that don't exist here. Vermont coming back, the kindness and the caring of the teachers towards the kids is something that always amazed me.
Right.
So yeah, I agree.
I have another question about, and I've seen some comments because this year there are no Valentine's celebrations. Some people seem a little upset about that. I can see both sides to it. But I also, one thing that okay, I mean, I'm on Facebook, I peruse, I see what people have to say, and I have friends who have kids that go to other schools and things, and they all have I feel like we're lacking this individual celebration of achievements because, this kid's getting a Student of the Month award, and I understand the idea of wanting to be inclusive and not let anybody feel left out. But I also feel like it takes away from the drive of a student to do better. So
Jamie, we do celebrate student learning and achievement at our assemblies, and we do that at least twice a month. We have different challenges and things that we celebrate. Oftentimes what happens with Valentine's celebrations, and I've seen it happen here at Ludlow, I've seen it happen at other schools. Parents go out and spend way too much money on cards and things that wind up in the trash before they even leave school. Some children fill out the list at home and then get to school and leave certain people's Valentines in the bottom of their backpacks, and then those students are excluded and feel badly because someone made a decision not to hand something out, and they wind up telling the teacher, oh, I lost it or I left it at home. And then the amount of sugar that gets sent in is just astronomical. And classrooms are celebrating kindness and having an opportunity to have a kindness celebration rather than a Valentine's Day celebration. So there are multiple celebrations happening throughout the building and throughout the classroom. We're just eliminating that giving, Valentine's cards to other people. And for some families, Jamie, that creates a financial hardship. And we really, want to make sure that we're not putting our families out and making sure that, all kids are celebrated every day and that we are practicing kindness and not exclusivity and I've been doing this almost 40 years. And every year that I've been working in a public school, kids are left out, kids are crying, kids feel bad because other kids are not treating them nicely. So instead of focusing on those types of celebrations, we're being more inclusive and doing kindness celebrations throughout our building.
It started with Charlie Brown.
Let's blame Charlie.
I absolutely understand that. And, and I explain that even to my kiddo, that I understand, it's hard on families. And I was curious about the numbers too, the kids, and knowing that we have, a temporary placement for unhoused individuals in Ludlow. And does that create a lot of kids coming and going quickly through our school? Is that, because I'm just curious.
In some cases, yes. We do have somewhat of a transient population. This year we've had 4 or 5 families register, and then we've also had 4 or 5 different families move. Some of the families that registered have already moved. Some of the families we had a family who actually was in our school for a week and then completely fell off of our radar. So we do have somewhat of a transient population coming in and out of our building.
Other questions or? Thanks, Deb. Craig? Oh, Katie, sorry.
I just had one question in regards to family survey. Was it 56 families with Ludlow and Mount Holly combined?
No, that was for the whole TRSU.
Oh, okay. So the same feedback makes sense for like all in general for the whole TRSU.
It was for all the elementary schools. We did not
Okay.
include high schools.
Okay. Thank you.
Craig?
Okay. If you look into the board file, you'll see my report as well. Deb and I really stuck tightly to the same format. So it's identical. So because we were trying to be responsive to feedback in the past about having a consistent way to present our data. In mathematics, and compared the same time period last winter, last January of 25 to this January of 26, in math, 72% of our students are proficient or proficient with distinction. Now that's a 1% decrease from 74% a year ago. And in reading, the percentage of students at proficient or proficient with distinction was exactly the same. It was 67% a year ago, and it's 67% now. As you probably recall, the year before, so the 24 to 25 jump was quite a lot. And so the median growth rate last year was 75% for math. Now it's at an average rate of 49%, which is, just almost exactly average. You can scroll down if you want. Yeah, there you go. So that's sort of like once you're getting up into these higher levels, the rate of growth gets harder to have at such high rates, but still you're really wanting to still continue to see at least average growth. On the reading side, that difference was 60% the year before and 47% this year. So also pretty average. So we're continuing to meet or exceed our SIP goals, our continuous improvement plan goals, and we're looking forward to a second half of the year that'll be really strong and some additional positive results in the spring. The feedback was exactly the same for the report cards, so I won't reiterate that. Deb did a nice job covering all of those facts. Any questions on the data?
Good work.
So yeah, the numbers are good to see, but I guess, can you talk a little bit more about what your plans are or what the building's plans are for increasing the growth rate, for the proficiency numbers?
Can you let Jen back in?
I'm not sure if you heard me.
Yeah, I did, Julie.
Okay.
They were talking about letting people in. I was just deferring to them for a sec. Yeah, Julie, that's great. I can definitely address that. So there's so many things that we're continually doing. So, we had recently added Hegarty, and that's a phonological awareness program. And we did a pretty in-depth analysis of foundations versus UFly. UFly is an Orton-Gillingham based model. It has a much more robust pacing. So that is something we're newly implementing this year. We're keeping a little, some of the aspects and tools of Foundations, because there certainly are some high quality aspects to that program. But UFly has a lot more modalities and stronger pacing, and so that's one of the major changes we're hoping to see will continue to have us meeting our goals. Our goal was to get to 70% proficiency by the end of this year, school-wide. And so we're kind of surpassing that already a little bit in math and getting pretty close to it. We're about halfway to the goal, halfway through the year. And there's just so many different things we're doing in both schools. We're really emphasizing meeting and weekly data teams so that we can look at instructional groupings and make sure that we're also looking at what individual instructional needs students have so we can personalize the instruction. But those are some of the key things. I can go into more depth if you'd like me to.
One question that, in recent years, the focus has been on making sure people make it up to the proficient level. And the reports don't talk so much about the top 10 or 20%, what we used to call gifted and talented. You probably have better words for it now. I'm wondering what kinds of things you do to keep challenging the kids who are already proficient.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. So in that grade band where we include proficiency, we also include proficient with distinction. So those are like really high performing students. And we've been really pleased with the rates of students getting to that level of achievement. And we do a lot of different things to make sure that kids that are ready for acceleration and ready for a challenge can do that within our day-to-day curriculum of everyday math and EL. And also in between EL modules, one of the favorite things that the kids give us a lot of positive feedback on is the ability to spend a week or two on a wonder project where they get to pick something that's a high interest area for them individually. And they design the project, research the project, and then share it. And we do school-wide celebrations of learning where kids share their projects. And that's a great way for kids to kind of dive deep into something that's really motivating for them. Students also are developing portfolios starting in preschool, and they move from more of a paper format pre-K to 2, and then in grades 3, 4, 5, and 6, they're digital. So their kids are constructing slideshows, and they can really personalize those portfolios to reflect things that they're passionate about, even beyond the school day.
Thank you. That's good to hear. And it seems clear those are things that you'd have trouble doing if you had 20 or 25 kids in each class.
For sure.
What assessment is this?
This is the MAPS on WEA. You're familiar with that, Beth? Yeah.
Is there between the two schools grade level meetings or anything? Okay.
Well, I apologize. The principals meet across the 3 schools. Cavendish is there on a weekly basis. And so things are, from my perspective, they're in a really good place. Things are very well coordinated and thought out. But Deb and Craig would be the ones that answer about, coordinated grade team meetings.
So we don't have them as you would typically have a grade level meeting, like monthly or during the school day. When we typically have those is during our building-based in-service. So we'll do some professional development in the morning, and then grade levels have an opportunity in many cases to meet in the afternoon. and work on curriculum, work on pacing. It's kind of a PLC group, and they document what they do and their planning and how they're going to move forward and what worked in what modules. And so they share ideas and things within those professional development days, those in-service days that we have throughout the year.
Thank you. Any other questions for Deb or Fred? All right.
Thank you both.
Facilities?
Thank you.
Well, you want to talk about the roof? The roof, even though it's not under financial, but.
What I can share with you is that we did offer the contract to Total Roofing. It had the references in there were 2 different school districts. I reached out to the business manager of one, and she thought they were fabulous. She even hired them to do her own home, and she put us in touch with the building facilities of the school that had actually happened, and that person reached out to Todd and could not say enough good things about Total Roofing. And then there was another school district, Rutland Town, actually used them, and they had good things to say about them as well.
So were they the lowest?
Yeah, by like $100,000. Yeah.
So just on this list that you provided of references, and I don't know if these were listed on the other thing, but I didn't notice this if they weren't. It seems like there's towns that have hired them to do lots of things, right? So like, or communities. And so that also probably speaks well. If they did a fire department roof and a town hall, they must have been happy with one project to get the second one. So that makes me feel a little better. I was kind of nervous, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are we under contract with them? Oh, great. Great, good work.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah.
That it really does. I'm just gonna say,
First,
Yes.
first thing, they didn't tell you the shingles are all going to be fluorescent orange.
what? It's fine.
It could be.
We will be seen from space.
It's fine.
So when, sorry, you expect that this is for total roof replacement for Mount Holly, and we expect that to be this summer? Okay. Great.
Any other facilities stuff?
So I will tell you that get my acronym right, the PFAS water thing with the town is moving forward. We have the grant through the Department of Health. It's we had to do it as a bond, but we don't have to pay that bond back. So we're waiting for the town. Lane gave him a document last night that needs to be signed as a co-applicant for this thing, and then that should be able to go through, and the bid is ready to go as soon as all of the I's are dotted and the T's.
Do we have confirmation written in stone and blood and whatever else from the state that we don't have to pay that bond back? I just don't trust a lot. Any other facilities, thoughts, questions, comments, worries?
There's a blinking light out there. It's
Hallway?
no. It's the outside light.
You have to talk to Al about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get that.
Yeah,
Right.
Al knows about that. We're booked for an electrician to fix that. They just book out a little bit, so we have to be patient.
Curriculum report, we have a copy. Anything you're gonna?
No, probably the only thing that'll add to it is the state pre-released dashboard data. I find the dashboard from the state completely useless. Basically has little arrows that say, yes, you're progressing or you're not. But the problem is that if you're at 76 proficient, or actually if you're at 98 proficiency this year and you're at 98, 97 proficiency next year, it's going to say that you're doing horribly. So the piece that's more important to me is the actual testing data from VCAP, which they still have not released.
And
I don't know how
there's some mistakes.
Wouldn't surprise me.
All right, curriculum, financial report.
Okay, you have January's financial in your packet. So we've been 7 months into the school year, so that's about 58%. We spent about 48%, which is good to be a little bit behind the curve because we get to the end of the year, we have the, payroll, and everybody who hasn't billed us all year long, bills us. Food service is a little bit higher than that, but still doing okay. I didn't add anything normal. Everything looks okay within the budget. The things that are unexpected, I have written here. And the audits are all complete. I just got Tira. It actually was finalized in December, but there was some compliance with the federal compliance that they were looking to see was going to change. And so they were waiting to hold the audit to see if they needed more things. And they sent it to me last week. So they did.
So were there findings?
No, there's no findings. But I'm going to ask them to come, I think in April, we'll get through the transition of the new board and have them come in April and do a presentation like they did last year.
Yeah. I think that's an important part of the oversight piece.
I know, I think it's good. I was glad that happened last year. I think we said every other year, but I think more is better if
I think
it's
with
okay.
light of the things that have happened, like in Claremont, and definitely are happening in Fall Mountain as well, so the grapevine I hear. You know, I think it's good for everybody to hear that we're okay.
Yeah. I had a question in the middle of that and now it's escaped me. Oh, retroactive pay. Are we good with that in any way?
The boards need to ratify.
Okay.
And so Green Mountain doesn't ratify until the 19th. And so Harold's on the 20th. Well, that's too quick of a turn for us. So it's March 6th.
Okay. And that's not going to put a huge damper in your percent versus whatever.
That's why you'll see that probably jump.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Roof we've taken care of. Old business, mandated policy discussion on class size.
So the D6 policy is actually, it's in the packet, you guys can find it. It seemed like there was a desire for some discussion on this. I think it's important to recognize that the policy, the mandated policy is very general. It basically just says, the superintendent needs to work with the folks to figure out what, average class sizes can be. And the state made it really simple. It's Act 73.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, like all the.
You can make the numbers higher if you want, but I don't recommend them.
I mean, again, like most of the policies, the superintendent shall develop class minimum, maximum, optimum, average size guidelines. I mean, I guess I'd like to see that next month. I mean, in that we used to have a class size policy that said that the optimum was to have between 13 and 18 kids in a class. Right?
It wasn't ever a policy though, it was the guideline.
Okay,
It
it was a guideline. And I guess, I mean, obviously it's a big part of the budget. If we have big classes or small classes. And so, I mean, I'd be interested in hearing what you consider optimal. And the problem, of course, is if you have 10 kids or 20 kids, right? You can't be between 13 and 18, right? And so, the problem with the old guidelines was when it came to implementation, sometimes there's just no way to get into what we considered optimal. I guess, but I'd be interested in hearing this fairly soon, about what you'd like to aim for.
What research says is optimal, or what's optimal given the state's law? Remember, two of these numbers are dictated by state law now.
Well, right. So it's the minimum, the optimal.
Again, but again, do you see the difference in the question? The state law has set maximum and minimum. Do you want our opinion on what optimum is between those two values? Or do you want us to just completely ignore that and say, well, what the research says, which is pretty clear, this is the optimal class sizes, which disregards the maximum and minimums that the state set.
Do you think?
No,
am I saying it horribly?
No, I think Dave's question is a little bit different than what you're hearing.
Okay.
And I think I understand Dave's question because we've been doing this for a few years. I think what Dave is looking for, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the old guideline said something to the effect of when, like through attrition, when somebody leaves or retires or whatever, we will look at class size and decide at that point if we are going to rehire that position or if we can shift things within the district to make it work as part of a money saving agenda without,
Right.
putting education.
So you want an attrition plan?
Well, I don't know what Dave wants. I just know I think that's where it's coming. Your question is coming from that. So we have a guideline. I think that guideline kind of goes out with this. And the plan then would be, how are we going to get to the state minimums or whatever, right? Is that what you're asking?
And they've been working on that. So that's the question. That's easy. So that's the attrition plan. It is based upon where we are and where the requirements need us to be. As people are leaving, which positions do we not hire back?
Which I find difficult because that's what we thought with last year of getting our positions back, because if you had a class of 10 and a class of 12, you were well below 13, and then you ended up with a first and second grade class, my daughter being in it, of like 21 kids, half of them with special needs, needing additional support. It's like, it was like not feasible to be able to, because we're just looking at numbers. We're not looking at people and things and what needs. Like, it's really frustrating because.
And I love the data side of things. I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear on. But what I'm hearing, and this is, correct me, is it sounds like it's the attrition plan,
Well, it's I'd say some of each. I guess I'd like to hear what, given the state laws, what would you like to aim for, in class sizes? And obviously, if a particular grade has a whole bunch of kids who need extra attention, that's a reason for not staying within. That's why they're guidelines and not a directive. Right?
Is the class size, or are they like taking into account like, okay, so this individual child has to have a one-on-one person.
No, they are not.
No.
And this other child also has to have a one-on-one person.
It's completely, it's important, but it's completely irrelevant to them as the lawmakers and how the law.
Right. But it may not be irrelevant to you when you're, and the principals, when you're deciding how are you going to staff a particular district. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand, Kate.
That's okay. Just in regards to like the class sizes too, I'd wonder what the plan is for like next year. I mean, my child has 4 kids in her class. Right now is paired with kindergarten and first grade. What's her plan moving forward now, next year, the year after that? Where's she to get their minimum class size?
Yeah. So I think I got what people are asking for.
Well, and I've said this before, I realized during a time when I wasn't on the board that there was this discussion amongst the board about guideline class sizes. But I think my instinct on that question has always been that is like one step beyond, to me, the interest of a lay board that are not educators, because to me, the question of class size, whatever the data say, the impact on quality, instructional decision-making, like that is not a fundamentally a board role. And so I guess I would caution, and this won't be my thing, right? But I guess I would caution the board in getting into the weeds on class sizes, because to me, those are like core educational decisions that ought to be made by administrators who are subject matter experts in, quality and excellence. Yeah.
I think what I question, and I get what you're saying, is just that is Lane seems like very much the numbers man, right? And then he's given us the guidelines that has been put out. Are we asking, like, I know what we want. We want them to make informed decisions about each classroom with the kids and that stuff. Because like, yeah, it's not my place to be like, okay, so that classroom was too big, like, so how are you looking for something to ensure that it doesn't do that? But do we have the ability to really like put that into place? Like, it's part of the reason I'm done here, because I feel so at a loss that I just want good quality education and it's getting thrown away for numbers. So, I don't want to give up our power as the board either to be able to say, no, we need to have individual grades, because we saw the kids suffer. And then as a even just like a business, like you keep collapsing grades and keeps collapsing, you're not gonna have anything, right? So that was another push, is like, well, no, like have and you're gonna have classrooms that are a little bigger, and you're gonna have and some that are smaller.
Well, they might be much bigger, because, right, if the minimum class size is 15, what number do you have to get to before you can split them? You got to get to 30. Right? So some of these classes based upon,
Insane.
and I'm not in disagreement whatsoever. But yeah, there are well-researched optimal sizes. I can pull that information. We've already been discussing and kind of working on what a nutrition plan would look like, right? And the question that I pose to a lot of the principals as I go around and have the meeting is, if you had to put this in place tomorrow, what would have to change based upon your current numbers? And so they've done a lot of that work.
One room schoolhouse.
Yeah. So high school level optimum class sizes and workloads for teachers. If you're an English teacher, it's a total class workload of a total student workload of 80, right? Because they need to have time to provide them with substantive feedback on their writing. So that means 16 students per class. All the other classes, it's 100. So that's 20 students per class. That's the national research. I know, because I worked at the high school level for 5 years. The elementary is much different, and so that would be, it's a little bit of research and relying on our elementary
Floor in the waiting room.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. I think what I'm not quite understanding about this is, like, I think it's more the geography that dictates the classroom size, right? Like, if there are 10, 12-year-olds in Mount Holly, then the class size is 10, right? Like, what can we really do? Like, we can say what the ideal is, but what can we do about, like, we can't dictate how many 12-year-olds we have for 6th grade. We just have what we have.
And if you dictate that I violate what the law is requiring, we're going to have a problem.
Right.
Because I can't act unethically. I can, tell you what you need to do, and then I have to follow through with what the law tells me to do. Not that you would, so I don't.
I'm comfortable in not having a policy on this, because I think those are fundamentally educational decisions.
But they're fun conversations.
Yeah, sure.
I think originally you had asked for it to be reviewed because is it a new point to have the class size policy?
Well, in the end, like a year ago, it was the budget question of should we put enough money into the budget to be able to restore the 2 teachers, right? And at that level, at some point, it is a board a decision. Obviously, we make the decision based on your recommendation, right? But again, to make the whole reason we're having this minimum class size discussion is because of the budget pressure.
Yeah.
And so, I understand that obviously we're not going to go in and say, no, you need to move this teacher here and you should combine these and not those. That's your job. But to me, especially if we're calling them guidelines, then I think we want to be satisfied that with the way that you're going to recommend to implement the combination of the research that's out there and the state law.
Yeah. And there's always a responsibility that, like under policy governance, we're making those decisions and the board is just looking at outcomes. But there's always a responsibility that people ask to be able to explain the rationale behind the decision.
Sure.
I mean, that's a legitimate question. And it's good because that processing sometimes leads to better answers. So
we'll reread that next time and you'll get some information for us while we're doing it. All right. Any other discussion about D6 class size policy? And we had talked last time about forming a restructuring committee, and Lane put out that's not the right word, but
solicitation.
there you go. To get some input and some possible people, and we were hoping to have like a big, hat drawing ceremony of the people who wanted to do it. And he got three volunteers. So I don't know that, and they're all in different categories, correct? So there's no need to draw names out of a hat. Can you share with us? Is it appropriate at this point to share who it is and what positions they fill, and then we could?
Yeah, they're right in the blue folder.
Oh, right.
The emails that they sent them.
So
it should start out, first page should be the actual advertisement.
So Lane put out the ad, and then this person, William John McCann, wrote a letter. Do I have to read the whole letter?
No.
That's a community member?
Yep, community, well, I assume. Writing to express my interest in serving on the Ludlow-Mount Holly District Sustainability and Long-Term Planning, a Mount Holly resident and a parent. So I think that fills a parent role.
He's also the chair of our planning commission in Mount Holly.
Okay. And then there's a second from somebody we may or may not know, apparently. As a board member representation, I'm sure you remember if this committee, I have experience process at Black River as well as my district I employed. Beth.
Because I didn't know if the board reps who originally started this are leaving. I didn't know who was leaving, so I'm willing to help.
And I think we had two board positions anyways, right? So, and then Zoe, who we all know, interested in representing as Ludlow as one of the community member at large spots on the Act 73 committee, born and raised in Ludlow, graduated from Black River, worked at both schools, elementary schools, deeply committed to helping our community, former staff member, well-rounded. So those three people are our initial committee members. We'll continue to strive to fill those positions, I'd say. We did say 2 board members. I don't know if there's another board member out there or in here that would like to do it.
Well, Katie is doing
I thought so, right? But she's not there, and I was hoping she was going to be like, I want to do it.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. I knew you wanted a Mount Holly and a Ludlow.
But whether she likes it or not, my assumption was she would run it.
I did too, but I just want to be sure. I don't want to volunteer anybody.
This is all contingent on the election, right? I'm not even on the ballot.
Oh. Okay, so let's for the sake of argument assume you will be, and are you willing?
Yes, if I am a write-in that becomes a board member for the next term.
Okay.
You want?
Well, couldn't she also do the 1-year thing if?
Well, if nobody runs against her, then she could get appointed through the select board again. Yes, it's just easier to be elected because then you don't have to keep rerunning.
Yeah.
So does you did, Beth? Well, my brain is needing to copy something rather than remember it.
So if it's me and Beth, then that's 2 board members, and it's 1 from Mount Holly and 1 from Ludlow.
Ludlow, Mount Holly. I need a chart. My life works in charts. So Ludlow is Beth. Mount Holly is Katie.
I'm also looking through my email because I got 2 emails to me personally with people that were interested.
Oh, I was going to say, and I got one as well. So that's why I'm doing this, but give me 2 seconds.
I truly asked several individuals and they said, they wouldn't be on a school board or they wouldn't do such a committee because it will amount to nothing. And that's really how people think
All
about it.
right. So Beth and Katie, then we had parent, John was a parent and, right?
A parent in LMH?
Parent of a second grader, yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So and do they go by William or John?
John.
John. Okay. So parent in Mount Holly is John McMahon.
And then Zoe.
And then Zoe is a committee member at large from Ludlow. All right. So what we'd be looking for is the teachers. And I know at some point we had talked about union coming up with and then just submitting there to a parent from Ludlow and 3 sort of at-large community members, 2 from Mount Holly, 1 from Ludlow. So I would say that at this point, Katie and Beth should go forward with making sure that that gets formatted with you, right? And we'll keep reaching out for more people. And
No, and maybe
getting started, yeah.
that after you have your first meeting, that people come as spectators and then agree that they'd like to join it.
To join it, right.
No.
Okay, so because my brain works in boxes, that is
So I would suggest that the board potentially assign what the overall role is for the committee as a motion and potentially set maybe what the first subcommittee date is. If that may or may not be able to do that today, but that would be ideal.
We had that last time, right?
well, we had, yeah, Katie, do you still have that in front of you, Katie, or do I have to go through the meeting minutes?
I don't have it in front of me. It was more or less correct. There was just something I believe that we had to add about fiduciary responsibility.
When Lane put it out, the Ludlow-Mount Holly District is forming a special committee to develop a vision and comprehensive plan focused on fiscal responsibility and long-term sustainability for our district in accordance with the state of Vermont's redistricting efforts as mandated by Act 73. And we pulled that right from the minutes, I believe. Yeah. We are seeking dedicated volunteers who are interested in shaping the future of our schools and community. And then if you're interested, I would say that is our charge, and we should have something a little more detailed about like a product that we're looking for, right? Come back to us with ideas, meet with us, an update from the board members monthly would be great. And then I would say maybe in our May meeting, like sort of a bigger, where are you and what are you thinking and that kind of direction that you have. Because that would get us into going into the summer where people start to tend to not be able to meet.
Maybe potentially a timeline since we really want to keep it
right
where we are going into budget season.
I was going to say, and then I think something sort of official by October, right? Because that's when we really start budget.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a reasonable? Mm-hmm. And I think we're obviously looking at, what our buildings look like, what potential, and as Act 73 comes and forms and reshapes and morphs, that might look different. I do know we did have an email from somebody on the Woodstock board that wants to talk about merging preemptively with them. And so I think that's a conversation that could be had at that meeting, committee meeting. Also, I do know that last time we talked and there was some conversation at our board meeting about Cavendish and their role in this. And we were kind of hesitant because we didn't want people to think we had preconceived notions. When this committee was brought up at TRSU, the Green Mountain members of the TRSU said, hey, we should all work together and have that conversation together and talk about it together. And so I shared, was like, yeah, we kind of thought that too, but we didn't want to go into it with a preconceived notion and blah, blah, blah. So I think there's definitely conversations to be had. And I certainly don't have a plan because I don't think the state has enough of a plan for me to form a plan of my own, because I don't, like, so to say we have a preconceived notion is for sure not accurate. So do people want to make a motion on that sort of thought or add thoughts to it, or?
The only thing I want to add to that is, sorry, Dave, I found the email and it's Christy. She's the preschool teacher at Mount Holly. Would like to join the board, the subcommittee.
Right, Christy, she's a preschool teacher?
Yes, at Mount Holly. And I forwarded the email to everybody.
Okay. And then
The teachers can come from the union.
right. Yeah, so I mean, we had said that. The other,
Talk with them tomorrow, I can ask.
Oh, great.
Meeting with them.
the other person was a community member at large, reached out, was, can't think of his real name, Dan. Yeah. All right, Dan Buckley. So those are the people that have reached out that I know of. Thank you for reminding me about those two that had already reached out previous to that. So that leaves us then with just 4 positions if Christy, is good with the union. Somebody want to make a motion about an official charge or?
You said a lot. It's hard to put it all into one motion. I mean, I said it'd be hard for me to come up with all the words to say it all. I mean,
I move for the formation of a restructuring subcommittee who is charged with presenting the board with a potential vision for how to respond to Act 73 by October. I don't know if that hits it.
That is inclusive of discussion with TRSU schools as well as Woodstock.
That you would be charging the subcommittee with making that determination, right? Because they're developing the vision.
Okay.
But it should also, as a part of that, it should also include a motion for, if Katie wants to head it up, or who's the lead.
Would they do that in the committee meeting? I thought they did a chair at the committee itself.
They could, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
and we need to name the people as
I would name the board members that are, yeah,
Okay. So
to give them authority to do the work.
So let's make that motion and then we'll make a motion to hire Beth and Katie.
Sure.
For a well-paid job.
okay.
How about a point? Dan?
I move what Wayne said.
And it's captured in the minutes, so we're good. Okay,
Yeah.
so a second for Dave's motion as iterated by Lane.
A second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of appointing or charging the committee?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. Okay, good.
Can I ask a really quick question? You don't have to get into it.
Yeah.
But what happens if they do, like, say, everyone needs to go to Springfield? What happens to the kids that are, like, already established in the schools?
I mean, if they say they got to go to Springfield, they got to go to Springfield. But that's a part of what I'm saying about this committee. Is, one of the recommendations is making those clear statements to the future people that will be in charge, as these are our expectations. Is that, if you make a decision like that, then we expect it to be a reasonable transition over, not immediate. or that kids are grandfathered in to finish up their time as like grad schools or something like that. So you have an opportunity to kind of speak to that future group that's going to be making those decisions, which I think is critical.
And is this being open committee? Like, I want to like pop in when.
Oh, yeah.
You have to warn it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a board subcommittee, so it'll go through the.
Only
That's all I'm-
fresh out of your coops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Cheryl said she's going to do minutes.
No, I think it may be that the committee wants to make recommendations to our representatives in Montpelier, as they're writing the laws to make it possible to undertake what they're recommending to do. And that, whether it'll be a race, who gets there first.
All right, so we have the committee, and then we need a motion that we as a board are appointing Beth and Katie K to that committee.
And we let them appoint the other members. Is that right? That's it.
Yeah, you're right. They'll decide who their chair is and.
Yeah.
I'll move that.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of Katie and Beth?
Nice.
Anybody opposed of Katie and Beth? No. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. And as we can, and if there are people in the public that would like to reach out, we are especially looking for a parent, 2 Mount Holly board community members community members at large, and the union representation lane we'll check in with. Okay.
Maybe I'll just ask now, Katie, is it appropriate for you to respond to the board chair from Woodstock, just to explain that we've set up this committee and that at some point you'd be happy to talk to her? I think that's all she was looking for now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, of course. I'm not 100% sure that I have that email because it doesn't sound familiar.
It came yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Late in the day. I didn't get it until Dave mentioned it either.
All right, let me look and make sure I have that. If I don't, I'll reach out.
If you don't have it, shoot me an email and I'll forward it to you. But
Okay, will do.
All right, so we've done that. And ratification vote on the new teacher's contract. Oh, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a tremendous amount of work that was put in on both sides. I am very happy and very pleased that folks were able to come to an agreement. I think both sides could probably agree that, it would have been great if it were sooner, but there is an agreement on the table for this board to consider. There are 2 sheets. There's the more simplified kind of summary of what the changes to the new contract will be. That is there, and then there is the actual, legalistic contract language that's in the packet about what the changes are.
Let's go over this simple list.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So for I'll just review the list that you have in front of you, but then it can be on
If people have
TV
questions.
at home too. So the highlights of the new contract would be a 5% increase to extracurricular stipends for each year in 25-26 and also 26-27. And it creates a working group with the district to consolidate the extracurricular stipend salary schedule. It also allows teachers who are off step in terms of their experience to gain additional steps each year until their experience and step match. Increased salary the first year is 4.71 new money, which includes $1,600 to the base. Year 2 is a 5.39 new money, which includes $1,550 to the base. Year 3, 4.91 new money includes $2,450 to the base, which is a total of 15.01% new money over 3 years. It also defines days as calendar days when a teacher gives notice of resignation, updates language from parent conferences to parent guardian meetings, pays new teachers for their 2 orientation days, disallows mileage reimbursement for professional development activities held within the district, limits accumulation of absence days to 90 for all staff and removes some grandfathered language. Teachers retain absence days when transferring between the TRSU districts and provides 10 days for the death of a spouse, civil partner, child, or parent, up from 7.
And again, that's a high level summary and the best of my wording. It doesn't go into the actual mechanics and things that are part of the contract.
I was impressed with how you all figured out a way to implement the movement, the additional steps in a way that doesn't hit our budget too hard in any one year, but it eventually gets teachers to where they would have been if they'd gotten all that credit.
On number 7, I'm just wondering, you have on the summary within the district, so you're starting with like using the new terms, but yet within the thing itself, it says supervisory union.
Yeah, I call it. It's actually a supervisory union.
But to be
It's more-
proactive with where the state is headed within the next few, should it say district?
No,
No.
because we are a union. Again, mine's just a high
So
level.
what
off the cuff
happens
summary.
with this when that all happens?
So there's two possibilities. The state's going to have to figure it out. The appropriate possibility is that they're going to have to open up negotiations and try to merge the contracts so that each district has a single contract.
State, or the state compared.
Or there could be a state contract. The other thing which I do not recommend is I know there was some research done into whether the legislature could just mandate those changes. And my understanding is they can. They would be very unwise to do so. And I do not think that they would pursue that.
Is there language in Act 73 to abrogate teacher collective bargaining agreements?
There may be, I have not read that portion in quite a while.
That hasn't hit the news. There's been no coverage.
No,
A lot of talk about the question.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they have a laundry list of things that they kind of noted in Act 73 that they didn't develop, but it says, we're gonna have to come up with a plan for this. We're gonna have to come up with a plan for how we determine how many representatives there are in a district that are on the school board. So they kind of have spelled it out in those general terms, but the plans for how they're going to do it haven't necessarily been created yet. And the teachers union should be heavily involved with determining how
Yeah.
those mergers, it's just appropriate.
All right, so
I move we approve the contract as.
Second that.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion about any of the items or any other?
No, I just, I appreciate all the hard work that went into this on both sides. And I'm so glad and relieved that we are at, a good result here.
Here.
Yeah, no, I think it was hard and hopefully everybody feels there was compromise. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the new teachers, how long is it? Is it a 3-year? I assume,
3
yeah,
years.
obviously with all those dates, yeah. The new 3-year contract for the TRSU.
Aye.
All right, anybody opposed? Katie, your phone says you're talking, but we can't hear you if you have a.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to do bedtime too, so it's my kids
Hey,
talking.
that's okay, I just wanted to
But
make
I am
sure.
allowed, hell yes.
All right, I can sign this, however, I brought only a green pen. Can I borrow a
Yeah,
big
you
green
can choose
pen?
your
Thank you.
color.
Oh, there's no purple. All right, I am signing this bad boy. And then it goes to Green Mountain on
Yeah, I'll grab the blue folder at
Yep.
the end and I'll bring it. It's Green Mountain next
the night.
next week on the 19th, and that should hopefully wrap it.
Right down. All right, that's good. There you go. Can't be organized and read at the same time. Mandated policies, first read, series E, school and community relations. Series F, instructional operations, and C, a flag policy discussion. So we'll talk about the mandated policies first read first. They are just a first read. Does anybody have any questions about them?
There is a paper packet of them. I didn't put them in the actual, this packet, because it would have been, but if people need a paper
I
copy.
think everybody got it at the beginning here, right?
And these, again, these are mandated policies. They're using verbatim the language that the SBA develops with legal counsel. So there's not really a lot to change. Then we have to.
So which one's first read? You're talking about,
Series E, and Series F. So it's all of the ones that have to do with school and community relations and all of the ones that have to do with instructional operations.
And I think there's one under Series E and then there's 5 under Series F. This was a shorter.
but the flag one isn't here.
That's separate.
Yeah, that's a separate situation. Do we have, you didn't put the flag one in here?
It's on the back.
Oh, okay. I thought so. And when Beth said something, I thought maybe I was wrong.
I don't know.
Last page of the big packet. Yeah, because it's not one you're considering as a first read or a second read. It's a discussion because it was brought up by the other boards.
So, okay.
So, having kind of gone through this in another district, one of the boards kind of brought this up as, is this something that we want to do? A flag policy is not a mandatory policy. It would be one that, either Green Mountain or Ludlow-Mount Holly or both districts as a whole, could adopt. There is a logic to it, having gone through this in a very painful way with another district or two at the time. What happens under the law is if you allow flags other than the state flag and the United States flag to fly in your schools, you have now created what is called an open forum for free speech. So the second somebody puts up a Trump flag, a rainbow flag, Joe Biden flag in a classroom, or puts it up on the flagpole, that is now an open forum and you cannot restrict anybody else who wants to put their flag or their comments or what in that space. So what districts can do is they can put in a fairly strict policy. This one is just around the flagpole. Green Mountain will likely be talking about a more general one as is TRSU is, should this apply to all spaces within a school? And so that's the discussion that they're having. I figured it would be important to bring it to here to see if there was any interest. I'm not saying you should have it or you should not. There are problems on both sides of it. One of the big things that I did talk with TRSU about was the fact that if you go to a more general policy that, in no school spaces can you fly anything but the United States and the state flag, you're getting really kind of restricted. Does that mean that, kids at a sporting event, a championship or something, they can't bring a banner out and cheer on their team? And so they asked me to go back and have legal kind of refine some language around that they can consider.
Well, my 2 cents, not that it matters going forward, but I think that as far as the flagpole goes, it should be strictly the United States flag and the Vermont flag. I'm all about inclusivity, but I also think that with that creates more division. And if we just keep it pretty basic, we're here to educate kids. We don't need to be making those kinds of statements.
And that's the logic of Green Mountain. And again, of course, they have a little bit more tension over there than over here, so I think it's on their minds a little bit. But their idea is, let's just stick with what schools are supposed to do and not potentially self-generate that sort of dissension.
And this is only about the flagpole itself, not.
So
Can be.
this particular policy is only about the flagpole.
Got it.
They are asking, and I'm talking with legal counsel about adding additional language to make it more general without being over restricted.
For the rest of the building.
Yeah, so like a teacher couldn't come up and put a Trump flag up or a Biden flag up in a classroom.
But you said something about a rainbow flag, and I'm aware that that is part, like, sort of safe spaces is part of, initiatives that schools are. So would that be chilled by something like that?
Potentially, yeah. Because again, I'm not for or against it. This is a matter of controversy. This is something that a community has to decide for itself. The concern typically is just that is right. If you create that open forum for free speech, you could have to fly the Confederate flag, next to the Black Lives Matter. The only flag I think we can restrict is the Nazi flag.
So the forum is just the flagpole, at least as far as this.
As far as the one that you're seeing. Right?
And so what is this, what, do we have an open forum currently in the LMH buildings? What's your assessment of that?
I'm not aware that you're flying any flags other than the United States.
Not just flags, I'm saying in the buildings.
I haven't been actively looking in the elementary schools. There are other flags up and about in the high school that I think folks are worried might generate controversy and open up that open forum.
Okay, ask Craig and Deb whether, do students or teachers ever have little flags that they do, want to display one way or another? Has it ever been an issue?
I'm not aware of any other than if it's based on instructional practices. For example, if it's part of an EL unit and they're studying a specific country, then there might be a flag for that country, so students have an idea of how their flag compares to our flag and they look at the different elements of a flag. But I don't.
We wouldn't want to restrict that.
And I'm looking around here, there's no French flag, but this is the French room. And
my understanding is so for the purpose of a flagpole, we're just talking about a flag, but for the purpose of the building, we could be talking about a sign, a sticker. So it's not inside the building, it's not just a flag.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And that's why I'd have to rely on legal counsel.
Yeah.
Obviously you'd want language in there about, if it's for a genuine instructional purpose or, if it gets that complicated. This is one that I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole, but it is a legitimate conversation.
To just stick to education.
But sometimes she said, I think we need to stick to education. And I don't disagree with you. My fear is the flagpole is one thing. I think there are strict guidelines in our, uniform flag practices, right? You have to have a light, you have to put it up and down. There's rules. You fold it a certain way, you do things, and you learn that, and it's a lesson in respect and whatever. I think that is very important. I also think that while I see the potential for chaos, I don't want to encourage that. I also think it's important that people have the ability to express safe places, to express inclusionary atmospheres and not be divided. I think it's important, and this is my own personal opinion, I am speaking as myself. I think it's really important that if we're sitting in the French room and the French teacher wants to have a French flag, they should be allowed. I think there's a lot of benefit to closing division and closing gaps in that way by having open conversations that are unbiased and healthy and balanced. And I think when we start to make really strong, strict rules about things, that goes away. And I think when people get really upset and really divided, we have lost in our world, and I don't know where it went, but everything is either this or that. There's no in between anymore in anything, right? Everything's he's good, she's bad, this is good, that's bad. And there's no middle ground. And I think if we really implement something that's strong in one way or the other, that we're creating divide and lessening the ability to talk about it. And I wouldn't support that. Does that mean I think somebody should be out there pushing their agenda? No. Do I think we should have any political flag that's voting for one president or another or sign or anything? Not at all. Do I think it's okay if people choose to have something that includes people? I think that's appropriate. And that is my opinion. And I would hope that anything we drafted, or even at the TRSU that we drafted, would allow for conversation and inclusivity and educational purposes and didn't restrict people from being able to share that with
Well said.
everybody.
I think it's having this.
Katie has a hand too, just so folks are aware.
I didn't mean to put my hand up. It just happened.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
But I'm in, just for the record, complete agreement with Kelly. And I think that it's very important that we don't draw hard lines here and we kind of examine this on a case by case basis.
And I think it's good to have more of a process and procedure around how to handle if a teacher puts up a New England Patriots banner in their room and there's controversy and it causes havoc in one of their buildings. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I think
That's more procedural
we're
versus.
tippy-toeing, let's face it. There are people who are pro-Trump, people who are not.
Well, but it could be anything.
You know, the political statements that is what everyone's really scared of, or the, you know, the pride flag
Yeah,
and
that's
those
huge for
matters.
people. Yeah.
You know, it's triggering.
So then the procedures and the process that the principals have in place to work with the families around that part, not the flagpole.
It's somewhat, I mean, under the law, it's somewhat of a bind. You can't decide if you're deciding on a case by case basis. I believe it's an open forum. There is a line of cases that discuss a limited open forum. But I don't know if, as my colleagues have pointed out, that things that are directly relating to supportive, but, considered kind of adjacent services supporting students would be considered a limited open forum. But once you create the open forum, you can't then decide we're an open forum in this case, we're a closed forum in that case. It is like sort of a global designation for the entire building.
Yeah.
Julie, can you say something that is, I think you just said limited open forum?
Yeah,
So you
I
could
haven't-
say that and this is not language.
Looked at the case
that's
law on
right.
that, so I don't know what qualifies. Are you familiar with that?
So one route that some school districts go through, so I can talk about it kind of in a school perspective.
Yeah.
Is that the idea out there of having a process, a procedure, or a policy is that promotes fairness, right? That you can't, if you don't have the policy to guide you, then when somebody comes in and asks you, can I do this? Right, your decision is completely arbitrary because there's no guidance. So the next person comes in and asks you to do something different. That's inherently unfair. So you want to have that procedure. So what some schools do is they do that. They develop a procedure. We will consider flying other flags, but this is the process that must be gone through, and these are the areas where we're considerate. And so at least 2 or 3 years ago when we were going through this with the Black Lives Matter flag, the legal counsel said, yeah, you can put that process in place, but it probably is not going to hold up to full scrutiny of free speech and open forum. So, right, because the second they put it up, regardless of whether it went through your process or not, you've kind of created that open forum.
So, Mike, I wonder though, too, as far as teachers go, classrooms go, people who are of influence, not posting flags or pro this or pro that, but if children want wear a shirt that's appropriate, they are allowed to have their own opinion. I feel like it's more about the school stance and being more, transparent, not being one side or the other.
Neutral.
Neutral app, yeah, something like
The
that.
school is the government actor, so that would be what is governed by the constitutional law, not the students.
Right. So
Yeah, the students can come in and they can wear, there's one circumstance where they can't, but they can come in like if they, have a religious belief that transgenderism is bad, they can come in and they can wear the t-shirt that says, there is only two sexes. That's free speech. The caveat to that is that if the student has harassed transgender students and then comes in and wears the t-shirt, that may not be free speech because it may just be another tool for harassment. So it's the nuance is incredibly, but my kind of thought process here and kind of watching where, some districts were able to put up the Black Lives Matter flag, some districts weren't, because that's kind of apropos to the discussion here, is it depends on your community. Is your community, if somebody puts up a flag, is your community going to go into a catastrophic state over it, or are they pretty mellow and accepting? And, if that's the case, then you probably don't really need it. If
a problem that we don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the elementary.
Right. I think we as elementary, Ludlow Elementary, Mount Holly Elementary probably are in a different position. But Green Mountain is at the middle and high school. As TRSU, once they implement a policy, does it become a Green Mountain policy? No, we can keep it.
Green Mountain could have this as their policy and, and you don't.
I suspect if we try to write a policy, it's only going to make trouble.
Yeah,
And I think that even if the administration tried to publicize a policy, it would also make trouble. And it seems like so far we haven't had any problems. And I'm willing to trust our principals and superintendents to manage issues as they come up. And if it becomes a problem somewhere down the road, then it'll come back to the board. But I'm happy to sort of leave things as they are.
I mean, I'm comfortable proceeding on just the flag policy for the flagpoles.
I'm not recommending. I'm just, the other district is working on it. It's important to them, and I can kind of see, again, there's a different tension there than here.
Yeah.
So, it may make more sense. So, it was just a discussion that this is, they're considering, is this something that you want to consider as well or not? That's all.
I mean, I think the policy as it's written is reasonable.
Yeah.
There is a
and it's a good one.
That's me. I'm getting
flow on our flag.
So I don't know.
All right, so this will be going through TRSU, which will be different than us. So we will have, this is like,
Or is it TRSU?
say that again? Well, it's going through TRSU.
Well, that was the first place of discussion, because usually if it's something that both districts want to adopt as a whole, right, it's got to go through the three boards. But if TRSU has no interest and you have no interest, then, Green Mountain can pursue it on its own.
Right, I have no problem with the TRSU doing the policy as it's written here, but I would hope they wouldn't go much further.
I guess my only comment, and maybe I'm tired and can't think straight, but I think the flagpole issue that I could see here would be, are we flying the flag under the rules and regulations of the United States flag as written? I don't want to say it's not constitutional, but that's the only word I can come up with right now.
I don't think there are regulations, right? If it's not lit at night, you have to take the flag down.
Right. As long as we're following all of that,
I don't think there's regulations about what you can put on the flagpole.
Yes, there
at the
is.
state level.
Yes, there is. I'm 99% sure it's two things and two things only, and the United States flag has to be bigger and higher than the state flag, and that is all you can put on a flagpole.
That's the reason that they had put the policies in place, because I don't think the state has those requirements. It requires you to have to fly the flags, those two
Well,
flags.
the state doesn't. I think the United States does, but I could be wrong. Maybe
But you may be right. I can double check.
because I think that is already a thing.
So do we have to make a motion?
Now, this was just a discussion.
Discussion to see where we
We discussed it.
All right. School, supply, Dave, just Illinois School Community Alliance, anything other than what we've already rehashed?
I think that the alliance is going to be pushing very hard to keep supervisory unions, keep small existing districts and then within supervisory unions. And they don't have an objection to enlarging supervisory unions, but anyway, that's one thing they're pushing for. The other issue is school closings. They're pushing hard to let individual towns vote on whether to close their schools or not. Basically not let the people in Springfield outvote the smaller towns and say, yeah, we're going to close your school on you. And they've been, you don't know how anything's going to come out, but those are two of their priorities when they're testifying and attending all of the meetings in Montpelier.
Any other comments about the Rural School Community Alliance or questions for Dave?
Oh, yes. Do people, you all don't get all each day they're probably often a dozen or more.
I had to ask them to take me off just because my inbox was so full.
Okay. But do you want me to forward a handful of interesting ones, or are you happy just, is your mailbox full enough?
I will only speak for myself. I feel like at first you were emailing all of them, and then like the ones that are actually pertinent and important, I think are probably valuable, but I certainly don't have time to sift through them and determine that on my own. So
if I did a couple a week, is one a week, is that about the right?
One a week would be good for me, and then the updates each month at the meeting.
Okay.
yeah, and if there's something like super, this is really, you should really truly read this one for, absolute necessity, then note that or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So policies approved at this meeting, none, but we did review E and D and E and F. Now I can't remember. E and F. So those will come back for a second discussion.
Andy, the class size.
Oh, right. It was just on the other page. Yeah. Public comment?
They're in bed.
Yeah.
A few people here. I don't see any hands.
Hand. All right. Board member comments? No. Thank you guys again.
Yeah. We're going to miss you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate the work we've done over the last 3 years, and I enjoy the discussion. I find it, great to be a part of, and there's a lot of work ahead. And part of me feels like I want to be part of it, but in 3 years, my kids are going to be old, and I don't know where we'll be. So yeah, that's.
Are you leaving us too? Another taxpayer gone? That looks like,
I don't know.
you would like it. Couple kids out of the district, there we go.
Right.
No, I was I've looked
I
at
am not going to South Carolina.
stuff that keeps popping up on you, like, oh, look at this $300,000 house in Tennessee. And I'm like, I could sell my little shack for like $400,000 and get a mansion if I went somewhere.
Future meetings. It says March 11th, regular meeting, Ludlow Elementary School, but before that, we have
Annual meetings.
we have the annual meeting, which is, what did you say, the
24th.
24th, and we determined it is in Ludlow, and
Is that a 6 o'clock?
6
Yeah.
o'clock.
yeah, and that's the annual, so I'm going to say this again, just for anybody out there watching and people who are sharing. Years ago, we used to do it at town meeting where we would sort of give a budget update and information about the budget. When we combined districts, that group, at that first annual meeting at the Roost, when we made, our articles of agreement said that we would meet 1 week prior to town meeting and we would alternate towns so that each town would hear the same information rather than having two separate meetings in both separate towns. And so that is why we don't speak directly to the school board at town meeting anymore, and why we have this annual meeting on February 24th at 6 in Ludlow this year.
And it's it's a good time to come and ask questions about tax rates and things like that.
Right.
As a part of it. Yeah.
As I said, it's in person only. Is that right?
No, there's
No,
a
no doubt.
But you just can't vote at the annual meeting if you're not in person.
Right. I'll be away. Good. Yeah.
But you can zoom in. And the other thing, are you scheduling any of your forums between now and then? No. Okay.
No.
And
It's a weird month with a vacation and.
yeah, and it's a really, and this meeting now being in the middle of vacation is going to throw a wrench in it. And I don't know how that's going to go. I did have one other thought about meetings,
Yeah, Green Mountains is on the 26th. So
which is also during vacation, right? That's weird.
And it's just because by law, they have to be within that window.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll still be a board member then, right? For the 24th?
So there's a
Yeah.
March, you are.
Yeah, until, right. People looking to be on the board, join us. I did have another meeting in my brain. Annual meeting. It's totally gone.
You think I'm redistricting once I haven't said it?
No,
Well, the March meeting's your reorganization.
right. No, it was something before.
CRSU?
I did do the select board here.
Yeah,
So the select boards that invited me to speak were Baltimore, Chester, and and we did check with the others multiple times just to be sure. So
Kelly, you and I were talking about saying something for the town meetings, just having a kind of a statement.
right. We will, you and I can sort of just make sure that we have our information for people at town meeting, because people are always asking questions, and so it won't be overly formal, but we'll have information that we can have on hand.
I've got a sticky to do a fact sheet for both districts, so that'll happen. You'll probably have that by Monday at the latest.
I think if we could also put out like an infographic or something, that if we can start circulating it on social media and whatever, about maybe like 3 or 4, depending on how many weeks there are, like one that's got some FAQs and one that has don't forget to vote kind of stuff.
Engaging the PTGs too. They
Right.
have really good outreach.
We're coming right off of vacation.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why it's going to really.
Sydney's getting
think of.
stickers for those,
An update.
Yard signs.
So yard signs, yeah. I think he's already got them. I think they came in with them.
I have to find out what it was.
Yeah.
All right. And then the subcommittee will get a meeting going, and it'll get warned once you do that, right?
Yeah, Katie, if the two of you decide on when you want to meet, and just shoot me an email, we'll get it set up and then warned and whatnot. Yeah, easy enough.
All right. Board members are given and have read the agenda and background material prior to the meeting.
Yes.
Good.
All right. Board members are respectful of each other, the public, and the administration.
Yes.
Thank you. Board members handle conflict openly and constructively.
Yes.
Board members focused on the role and responsibility of the board.
Yes.
And board members act as a team once a decision has been made and work collaboratively throughout the decision-making process.
Yes.
Did a good job. All right.
Move me adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Bye.
Drive carefully, those of you that are driving. Well, none of you are. But
6:46 6:46 adjourned.
6:46. 8:46. I wish it was 8:46.
Only 2:46.